focus at this hour, and it's the biggest international story of the day. North Korea today claimed it had tested a hydrogen bomb which it can mount on an ICBM or intercontinental ballistic missile. The country, often described as an international pariah, declared perfect success in its biggest ever nuclear detonation, which presents an enormous challenge to the international community, especially the US, North Korea's sworn enemy. Now, in recent weeks, we've witnessed a steady escalation of tensions between the two sides. President Donald Trump has reacted to today's development, terming North Korea's actions and words as hostile and dangerous. He also said North Korea was a rogue nation that had become a threat and an embarrassment to China, which has met with little success in making the North fall in line. Pyongyang has long sought the means to deliver an atomic warhead to the United States, and the test has undoubtedly infuriated Washington and regional powers like South Korea. China, the North's main ally, was swift to issue condemnation, as was Pakistan. But the question is, wasn't it Pakistan where it all began, with his rogue scientist and father of its nuclear program, Abdul Qadir Khan's role in supplying both nuclear technology and material to North Korea being well documented? And then what about the role of China in all of this, or at the very least its failure in reigning in the North? Also, with one world leader after another condemning this nuclear test, will it not overshadow the BRICS summit that is about to get underway in Xiamen in China, posing an embarrassment for the host country? Also, how much of a security threat is this for the region and for the United States? And in fact, as we mentioned, Donald Trump has reacted to claims made by North Korea of this hydrogen test, in very strong words, calling the actions and words of the country hostile and dangerous. And we're now told that Donald Trump is also going to meet the top leaders of the country's national security establishment to discuss the test carried out by North Korea and its implications for the United States. In fact, the Ministry of External Affairs has also put out a tweet deploring the nuclear test conducted by North Korea and asking it to maintain peace and stability. All right, before we take some of those questions that we hope to raise in the course of this debate to our panelists, let me go across to my colleague Aanchal Anand, who in fact is in Xiamen in China, reporting on the BRICS summit that's about to get underway. Aanchal, Prime Minister Modi arrived there only a short while ago. This is a very, very high-profile summit, but are there not fears now that North Korea's hydrogen bomb test could now completely overshadow the BRICS summit? India has issued a condemnation, Japan has issued a condemnation, so has China. But fact of the matter is, many are calling this an embarrassment for China, the host country, as far as the BRICS summit is concerned.
Absolutely, Neha, you're spot on there, because there's no doubt about the fact that Beijing and especially President Xi Jinping would be asking who stole my win. He was the man of the moment for this BRICS summit. He wanted to fill in the vacuum internationally as we see the change in geopolitics. He wanted to be the global leader, and that is the signal that he wanted to send. And now the tremors of this weren't only felt in North Korea, where the blast actually happened of 6.3 magnitude. We are told that parts of China also experienced the tremors, and those tremors would be felt probably tomorrow in the BRICS summit as well. Although Chinese condemnation has been very quick and swift at the same time, but is this too little too late? Because at the end of the day, always the question has remained that if at all China has the power and leverage against North Korea, when is it planning to use it? So those are the questions which are the key questions. Initially, Neha, very interestingly, before the Prime Minister landed here in Xiamen, and we are staying in the hotel right now, we are in the hotel where Prime Minister has just arrived, there was a question whether India would raise the issue of terror in BRICS summit, to which our foreign ministry has already said that terrorism is an issue, it is a threat to the global community, and no doubt it is one of the core issues which is going to be raised at the BRICS summit. To add on to all the miseries of Beijing, he wanted to be the man of the moment, Xi Jinping. Now, probably North Korea issue might just figure, because at the end of the day, it is the 40% of the world population which is represented in BRICS countries, and it's about the global security and stability in this area, which is obviously getting affected by these blasts which occurred today.
Right, Anshul, you know, as you mentioned there, the fact that China perhaps wanted to paint a very different picture of itself. Obviously, it aspires to be a global leader. It is hosting the BRICS summit this time round. But this is likely to cast a long shadow on the BRICS summit. The timing of it couldn't be, you know, more wrong for Beijing. And this does come as an embarrassment, Anshul, because let's not forget that China is perhaps the only ally that North Korea, otherwise described as an international pariah, can claim to have. And, you know, Donald Trump has been very critical of not just North Korea, but China. In fact, even today, Anshul, responding to this test, not only has Trump called North Korea's actions hostile and dangerous, he says this country has become an embarrassment and a threat to China, which has met with little or no success in reining in North Korea. Therefore, a lot of uncomfortable questions are going to be asked of Beijing by several world powers now.
Absolutely, because bottom line, a few weeks ago also, Trump had actually categorically said, and it had expressed its disillusionment and disinterest and disappointment with China on not using its force, not using its leverage against North Korea, not doing enough to stop the missile and nuclear program in North Korea. And today, a series of tweets issued by Donald Trump clearly indicate that at the end of the day, America, as far as its strategy goes, it's not going to be sitting tight or just waiting and watching. Apparently, as far as Chinese go, although if you look at it, this time around, the condemnation has been very quick and swift. Perhaps one of the major reasons is the BRICS summit, which is happening in Xiamen here. But will China change its foreign policy, or will it do anything on the ground as far as North Korea is concerned? That is where we have to see what is the movement forward, because at the end of the day, we do know that China would rather have a nuclear-powered North Korea because it wants America to suspend its relationship and missile program with South Korea. So it is a balancing act which China tries to do and keeps only its interests in focus, but then it's a double whammy situation that it is an embarrassment for China because you cannot have internationally be seen as supporting two rogue nations. One is North Korea, which has just tested its hydrogen bomb, and second, Pakistan, which has links with the nuclear program,
which is now globally recognized as a hub of terror, international terror. Thank you so much for that, Anshul. And the big question is China going to mend its ways? That still remains the big question, because it is under fire from the international community. Thanks so much, Anshul, for that. We'll come back to you later for more. In another important update that we have for you, India's Ministry of External Affairs has also issued a condemnation of North Korea's nuclear test. For more on that, let's now go across to my colleague, Uday. Uday, take us through the details.
Well, it's a certain strong condemnation that has come in from the Indian Ministry of External Affairs, Neha, on the issue of the North Korean nuclear testing. Remember, across the world, various countries have, of course, been reacting. All this is very crucial because this press release that I will just read for our viewers will tell us what India's stand will be on the table if this issue crops up at the BRICS summit level as well. So the press statement from the Ministry of External Affairs on the nuclear test conducted by DPRK, which NewsX has access, says that India deplores the nuclear test conducted by the DPRK this morning. It is a matter of deep concern that the DPRK has once again acted in violation of its international commitments, which goes against the objective of the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, which has been endorsed by DPRK itself. We call upon DPRK to refrain from such actions which adversely impact peace and stability in the region and beyond. India also remains concerned about the proliferation of nuclear and missile technologies which has adversely impacted India's national security. So this is the strongly worded statement that, of course, has come in from the Ministry of External Affairs on the nuclear test by North Korea. And, of course, the key words, of course, are that they've deplored this test. They've noted that this is a matter of deep concern that is in violation of what DPRK has assured in the past. And India is concerned about the proliferation of nuclear and missile technologies, which also could adversely impact India's national security as well. Remember, this is an issue concerning the Asian region, and that's why, of course, India's position is extremely important on this.
Yes.
And their stand, of course, is very clear, Neha, in this press release, which, of course, has been sent out by the MEA shortly back.
Well, clearly an unequivocal condemnation there from India, but no surprises at all, Uday, at a time when you have one country after another strongly condemning North Korea over this act. The question really is, will China continue to shield this rogue nation? Thanks very much for that report, Uday. Before we go across to our panel, let's listen into some reactions that have been coming in through the day.
ये सब एक अमेरिका का षड्यंत्र है, साम्राज्यवादियों का षड्यंत्र है। ये किसी एक देश को, किसी एक नेता को निगाह और निशाना बनाकर उसके खिलाफ अभियान चलाते हैं। ऐसा ही अभियान सद्दाम हुसैन के खिलाफ चला था। उसके नीचे केमिकल वॉरफेयर करने की सारी गुण है, उसके तहखानों में केमिकल वॉरफेयर की सारी मशीनरी है। क्या निकला? और फिर एक बार कह दिया कि हमारे CIA ने गलत जानकारी दी थी।
At this point of time, it's very unfortunate that North has carried out this bomb nuclear testing. The relations between North Korea and United States are worrisome. The entire world is worried of the possible consequences. There were sanctions imposed. Neither was China, nor Russia, nor Japan, nor America were expecting that despite sanctions, North Korea would go ahead and carry out this explosion.
All right, let's now introduce our panelists. At this point, I'm joined here in the studio by Colonel Danveer Singh, a defense expert, Bhaswati Mukherjee, former diplomat, with us as well. Joining us from Pakistan via Skype is senior journalist Arslan Bhatti, and we're also joined by senior journalist and political commentator Einar Tanjan from Beijing. Thanks very much to all our panelists. Colonel Danveer Singh, let me begin with you. North Korea has claimed its hydrogen bomb test has been a perfect success. And not only that, it can actually be mounted on an ICBM, an intercontinental ballistic missile. The question simply is, how big a security threat is this for the region, for South Korea, and for the United States?
So, first of all, what United States has reacted to this bomb is that they are not very sure whether it is the same device which has been shown in the pictures released by that country, wherein their premier is inspecting a nuclear weapon, so to say. You require a very small size device to be fitted on a missile. So still it is not very sure whether this is a test, otherwise technological demonstrator, or it is a test which can be, the device can be fitted to a nuclear missile. As per the Americans, that can only be ascertained in case they use it on a missile to carry out a dummy test.
I take your point that perhaps North Korea's claims cannot be taken at face value. But that aside, if we were to believe for a moment that this is indeed a hydrogen bomb test that's been carried out by North Korea today, my question still is, sir, how big a threat is this to the international community, to South Korea, and to the US?
See, say that yes, they have tested a device that can be fitted to Hwasong 14 or Hwasong 12 missiles.
Which has been a huge bone of contention between the US and North Korea.
US and North Korea. In that case, then let's be very clear that half of the Americas onto the western side is covered by the missile range of North Korea. There's no doubt about it. And then their shorter range intermediate ballistic missile, which they claim can reach Guam. In that case, and they are saying that we'll target Guam to teach Americans the lesson. So yes, it is a very, very major security risk. And this security risk does not stay confined to North Korea. The security implications are also being felt in India, because North Korea and Pakistanis are in league with each other as far as missile technology and nuclear technology is concerned.
Absolutely.
And one more important thing, wherein when India conducted nuclear tests, we claimed that we have exploded a thermonuclear device, but that also came under a lot of scrutiny, and there were different voices which said that yes, some said that yes, they have exploded, some said no. So it is a very high-end technology which people doubted that India has mastered. So in this case, if North Korea has done that, then
Colonel, you're making some very valid points, and I do want to focus in detail about the role of China and Pakistan in all of this, the nexus that's often talked about. But before that, Bhaswati Mukherjee, if I could come to you, if we could just for a moment focus on the US. Now, we've seen there's already been a sharp reaction from Donald Trump today, who's described North Korea's actions as hostile and dangerous. In fact, you know, in recent weeks, we've seen a steady escalation of tensions between the two sides. There's been a lot of saber rattling. Even now, we're told that Trump is going to meet the top security establishment of the US to discuss the implications of this test, if we were to, of course, take it at face value. The question is, ma'am, what do you think we can expect from Washington next?
Well, Neha, it's a very good question, because earlier, if you remember, President Trump was criticized for becoming very bellicose and giving too much of attention to North Korea and its rather maverick leader. Unlike Obama, who used a policy of disdain and distanced himself, there are those who say that maybe if President Trump had been less bellicose, then this situation wouldn't have developed into what you rightly call saber rattling. On the other hand, now that the situation has developed as it has, and President Trump has just tweeted that China is unable to control the situation, if you move it back to China, it's clear that China is really not in control of the situation, that China is not able to stop North Korea from embarrassing it when it is hosting a BRICS summit.
Exactly.
And even more embarrassing for China is that as a so-called permanent member of the Security Council and a responsible nuclear weapon state, it has proliferated first to Pakistan, whose father of the nuclear bomb has proliferated to North Korea. So there is a clear trail, and that couldn't come at a worse moment when China is hosting also Prime Minister Modi at the end of the famous Doklam standoff. So I think the timing of North Korea demonstrates that China is not in control at all. I would agree with President Trump on that.
All right. I think you've hit the nail on the head, ma'am, and you've made a series of valid points.
That is something we need to take into account.
Absolutely. I think you've hit the nail on the head, and you make a series of valid points, whether it's about the China connection, whether it's about the nexus between Pakistan and North Korea, and the timing of it all. And that gives me a perfect cue to bring in my guest from China, Einar Tangen. Mr. Tangen, how would you respond to what you've heard the other panelists say? The question simply is, the timing of this couldn't have been worse for your country. You're hosting the BRICS summit where several world leaders, including Prime Minister Modi, are gathered. Many believe that today's developments are going to cast a long shadow on the BRICS summit. Perhaps China would have wanted to paint a very different picture, set a completely different agenda, but perhaps with Japan, India and several other countries condemning North Korea's hydrogen test, perhaps this is now going to take center stage. That's number one. Doesn't it come as a huge embarrassment to China? Number two, you know what Donald Trump said today. He says North Korea has become a threat and an embarrassment to China, which obviously has managed to do very little to rein in that rogue country. How do you respond to all those allegations being leveled against China today?
Well, let's separate them out into tangible areas. First off, there's no doubt that the BRICS has been take the entire agenda. Second, the China being in control and what it can do, it's clear that China is not just otherwise it would not have at this particular time. What people very
Mr.
difficult
Mr.
to understand.
Tangent, unfortunately, we seem to
Pump
have
and trying
an
to get
audio
rid
problem there with your line, sir. We can't hear you very well. We will try and come back to you. Let's see if we have better luck with your audio, sir. Give us a couple of minutes. We'll try and fix that line. Arsan Bhatti, stay with us. I'd like to request our entire panel to stay with us. We need to take a quick break here on the show, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back in just a couple of minutes, we're going to discuss the implications of North Korea's hydrogen test. What does it mean for the region? What does it mean for the United States? And what does it mean for China? We are discussing the biggest international story of the day, North Korea's claim of having tested a hydrogen bomb. What does this mean for the region, for the world community at large? Let's now go across to Arsan Bhatti, a senior journalist joining us from Pakistan. Mr. Bhatti, you know, fact of the matter is that the role of your rogue scientist and father of your country's nuclear program, Abdul Qadir Khan, in supplying both nuclear technology and material to North Korea is well documented. So, you know, Pakistan can go on issuing one denial after another, but this is something that is well known to the international community. My point is, when today we are talking about a rogue country and an international pariah like North Korea having detonated a hydrogen bomb, which poses a huge security threat to many different parts of the world, will Pakistan's role not be called into question?
First of all, if North Korea has detonated its nuclear bomb, there is no wrong with it. Any country in the world has full right to defend itself. And the allegations which were you were telling me just a few minutes back, that Pakistan's nuclear father, Dr. Abdul Qadir Khan, had supplied some weapons to North Korea or some formulas or anything and help, that was totally wrong.
Mr. Bhatti, even Pakistanis acknowledge this. It's not for nothing. It's not for nothing that the man had to flee his own country. He was declared persona non grata in Pakistan because he was illegally proliferating nuclear technology to irresponsible countries like North Korea. That is well known and acknowledged by your own countrymen, sir.
Pervez Musharraf has recently acknowledged a few days back.
Pervez Musharraf has acknowledged it. I'll come to you, Ambassador, in just a moment. Mr. Bhatti, even your own countrymen don't deny this. I can tell you that.
Let me. What Pervez Musharraf, the former president, has said, that was his own views. That has nothing to do with the popular statement of
Now,
Pakistan.
this is the problem with all our Pakistani friends. Even if a former president of that country makes an official statement going on record, they say it is his personal view. I'm sorry,
former president.
Mr. Bhatti, when you have been the president of a country, when you've been the army chief of a country, there is no such thing as personal views. Let's get that straight. Colonel Danveer Singh come in here, not surprising at all, yet another denial from Pakistan. But we all know, as the ambassador also mentioned, about the China-North Korea-Pakistan nexus in all of this.
In fact, it is not that the Pakistanis just did it by themselves to North Korea. It cannot happen. It couldn't have happened without the blessings of the Chinese.
Exactly.
And it was a two-way movement. While the nuclear technology went to North Korea, the missile technology from North Korea came to Pakistan. And the DNA of the missile technology is same, that is in the North Korea, China and Pakistan. The DNA is same. Same goes with the nuclear technology. So they are all in league, and that is a great cause of worry. What Pakistan could not achieve as far as thermonuclear device technology, North Korea has achieved, and that is the
I'm running out of time, so I need to get a last word in from Ambassador Mukherjee. Ambassador Mukherjee, it's all very well for our Pakistani guests to say any country has the right to, build its nuclear, weapon system. But fact of the matter is, this is not just any country we're talking about. It's a rogue country, headed by a man like Kim Jong-un, something that poses a threat to the entire world community. And Pakistan and China cannot wash their hands off this.
Neha, it's much worse. It's much worse than that. That Pakistan has always claimed that, like India, it's a responsible nuclear weapon state. But in fact, its shocking behavior and the behavior of the father of its nuclear program in helping North Korea to proliferate in this matter has actually held up Pakistan's efforts to join various groups, including the NSG, where they have been trying with the help of their friend China, their all-weather friend, to join NSG along with India, because the international community does not consider Pakistan to be a responsible nuclear weapons state, precisely because of the manner in which they have proliferated, and their former head of state has acknowledged it. So nobody can deny it. The issue is that this man was put under
That's the strange thing about Pakistan. Even if their former presidents and prime ministers have gone on record to say something, they're still denied. Ma'am, I've completely run out of time, but I still want to ask you one more question. China is under fire as well. Do you foresee any change, any shift in the Chinese stand? Of course, we know that they continue to solidly stand by Pakistan on every issue. They also are the only country that North Korea can claim as an ally. Do you see China's stand changing in any way?
I would see that China's stand would be bound to change if, for instance, as your defense analyst said, and I agree with him, that in case it is fitted into a intercontinental ballistic missile,
yes,
or even if they try to hit Guam,
yes,
the Chinese would have to react as a P5. So actually the North Korean ruler has completely upset the Chinese calculation,
yes,
because he has demonstrated that he is no longer under Chinese control. He's not a client state of China.
And I think what China will have to remember is,
unless the Chinese can bring him under control.
Yes. Absolutely, ma'am. You know, China can very well call North Korea a friend or an ally, but it has to remember it's also a permanent member of the UN Security Council. It has a certain responsibility towards the international community. I think that is something China will need to remember. Well, I've completely run out of time, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining us on this special discussion. This is, I'm sure, a subject we're going to discuss and debate several times in the coming weeks and months. With that, it's a wrap on the show. Thanks for watching.